Now that I'm having, practice here and working in Canada in a sort of stable, I go for mission of between 4 to 8 weeks. And most likely I do mission in a really emergency setting, right after a natural disaster or in a peak of violence in a conflict area. And then the care is completely dependent on the context of work. There are needs, and I have no, I would say, problem in doing whatever it's needed. What I have decided through time is I've done a fair amount of hands-on in the field, and what I've done since in the new millennium is I was president of MSF Canada for 5 years, and my take on this was, if you want to see things changing, at one point you need to take responsibility at higher level, and that was my thought process back then, and this is why as well today I'm sitting on the board of MSF Switzerland in Geneva, because it's an operational center, and then it's closer as well to the field, and that's the way to contribute in terms of the social mission of MSF, but at a strategic level. What I find the most difficult, it's living with death. It's every day losing patient, and in some places this is what happened. In the mission I've done in the Somalian camp, I remember the first 2 days I arrived there, we had 5 deaths, and then 5 times I went to see parents, and I had to tell them that, you know what, I don't think your child's gonna make it. I have done everything I could, but I don't think it will happen. I said, you can keep the child here, and I will still do my best. You might decide to bring the child back to the village, and it's okay. And the reason why I'm saying that, why it's so difficult, is I think that here in Canada, especially with children, we don't see death that often. And just here at Saint Justine, in our emergency, our average is 6 deaths a year. And then we're about 20 regular staff in the emergency room. So you out of having 1 case it's pretty minimal. Every day I meet death, and every day I fight against it, and that's the most difficult things. More than having to go to a checkpoint, more than sleeping under the bomb attack, more than being threatened by a Kalashnikov, I find it nothing compared to a meeting with death. Basically, there was a child who was really sick, had malaria crisis, had a low hemoglobin, and basically needed a transfusion. And we often ask the family to do it, and they say, well, we're refugees, we don't have enough blood, and if we do that we'll fatigue ourselves and blah blah blah. And I said, oh my God. And I just said, if this child doesn't get transfused, it's gonna die overnight. And I know that I'm an O negative person, which is a great thing because I'm a universal donor. So most of the time I gave during my mission. So I end up, I told the nurse, I said, come on, I said, do the test, make sure, I'm not infected, but you have to do the test, do the routine test for HIV, hepatitis, take my blood, transfuse it to the child. And so the child got transfused, survived, and a few more months, the mother, came back and just said, show me the child, and the child was doing and thriving well, and she said, we'll give him a middle name, and she gave the child my name. So there's those little things that happens, and you just say, well, that makes a difference. How do I cope, with stress and threats? It's each time is different, but I would say the main thing is to keep focused on what you are trying to achieve, and not losing sight of the people that you want to bring medical care to. And by not losing sight of my patient, this is what keeps me going. And I think it's the same here in Canada. As long as physicians and healthcare personnel will never lose sight of the patient, the reason why they are there, I think we'll give the right care for our patient. Don't leave because you want to be a hero. Don't leave because you want to show them what to do. Just leave because you think it's the right thing and do it in a very humble way. The hero is really the mother from Somalia who escaped war and worked 3 weeks to 3 months to come in my refugee camp in Kenya. And she's the hero. All the experience in life, change you. When I was a teenager, I wanted to change the world. And as I'm growing older, I think the world has changed me.